To be a woman is to perform. I'm no feminist, but women have it pretty tough when it comes to life's cruel lottery. Of course, men have their struggles, but historically, women typically receive the short end of the stick. Speaking of historically, women back then had it really bad. Most civilizations treated their women as second-class citizens. That issue was made very apparent in some royal courts. Women, in complex, jagged networks of political and imperial scheming, were nothing more than tools meant to bring forth the next heir to succeed the throne. This sort of thinking towards the woman in the equation often breeds a lack of care for what the woman wants, and the woman, being supposedly powerless in the situation, is forced to drop their dreams and aspirations to fulfill the needs of the realm. In environments like this, one could easily see the fate of the woman being pushed around, disrespected, disregarded, and thrown away if they cannot fulfill what is asked of them. That is, if she hasn't yet mastered the art of being a woman. It is crucial for a woman in this period in time to dance with death, perform and act for those who look down on her so she can get what she wants. In a desolate, doomed world, the woman thrives only if she is able to keep appearances. If they think of her as weak, then she must hide her strength and appear weak. She plays along to slowly supplant herself as a crucial piece to the puzzle. Blue Eye Samurai does a fantastic job in depicting the art of being a woman with the character Akemi. Some of you may have thought I would be talking about Misu, but her way of taking what she wants is through force, a man's way, a luxury that most women do not have. Akemi, on the other hand, is the personification of a woman's skill to thrive in the clutches of cruel men. With Akemi as the base and some knowledgeable characters as the crucial details, we will be able to see the art of the woman in action. When we meet Akemi, she's rehearsing, preparing herself to say the right things to get what she wants. At this point in time, she's aware of the concept of being a woman, but as we're about to find out, does not fully understand it. But what does she want? Akemi wants to be married to Taigen, and not to some fat, uncaring, abusive lord. In an attempt to get what she wants, Akemi goes to her father to bend his ear. But bending the ear of a man that already has plans will prove to be difficult. And difficulties were encountered as Akemi tried to convince her father to marry her off to Taigen. She tries to use her speech, speaking softly, but it all falls on deaf ears. Then she goes on the offensive when she gets offended after being compared to a pig, which of course doesn't help her at all in this case. At this point, Akemi's father only sees a lost, stupid little girl begging for more candy to rot her teeth. But Akemi plays into this after calming down, suggesting that she knows nothing of the outside world, then she'll need someone who does, and that someone can be Taigen. Once finding her footing on the dance floor, Akemi secured her marriage with Taigen. For a strong-willed woman like Akemi, she needed this victory to gain control in her life. But as we all know, life itself cannot and will not bend to any will. And unfortunately for Akemi, life decided to disregard her victory and deal a new card into play. With Taigen no longer fit for marriage, Akemi's father looks to salvage his daughter's bargaining potential. And with talks of marrying her off to a brute, Akemi looks to salvage her marriage to Taigen, to salvage her future. This is where we see Akemi's lack of knowledge of the art of the woman. In a situation like this, a skilled woman would accept the second best option and make the best out of the misfortune. The river of life may have placed her in choppy waters, but she will go down the stream either way, charting a course to less hostile waters. But what Akemi does is the complete opposite. she flat out denies any other choices that doesn't lead back to Taigen and goes on a journey to find Taigen and inevitably help him kill Misu, the one that ruined her plans. Instead of going with the current, she decides to go against it. A poor choice on her part. A poor choice that will eventually lead to failure. As much as she fought, she will be forced back home and married off to the son of the shogun. But all is not lost for Akemi, for there are still many opportunities for her to take advantage of, even as her current situation isn't what she wanted. Before going any deeper in Akemi's time in the shogun's palace, we need to talk about two characters that play critical roles in Akemi's success and explaining the tricks behind the art of the woman. Seki, the advisor to Akemi's father, and Madame Kaji, a geisha who oversees her brothel. Without their guidance, Akemi would have surely died in that palace as a slave. Even though Seki is an advisor to Akemi's father, his true loyalty and service is to Akemi. Throughout the moments we see them together, Seki did his best to provide advice that would best serve Akemi. Most of his counsel would fall to deaf ears, unfortunately. But once Akemi was brought to the palace, and he managed to sit her down for a game she played as a child, Seki gave her some advice that would finally click with Akemi.
Know it or not, you are equipped to do more than survive here. But succeed, expand your territory. Find the vulnerabilities. Capture. Win.
While their interactions were brief, Madame Kaji left a lasting impression on the princess. Her presence and some dialogue brought some insight to what we're looking for.
To be alive is to wake up and do things you don't want to do. Or don't bother waking up.
But we need to focus on what she said directly to Akemi. On a ride through the streets, Akemi spots Madame Kaji and her whores walking towards their destination. They interact yet again after the last time they first spoken with each other. With some back and forth chatter, Akemi tells Madame Kaji that she would rather give up her life of royalty to rid herself of her predicament and her new cruel husband. This is where Madame Kaji gives her wisdom to Akemi, which she also takes to heart and puts into practice.
He's a man. All men are weak. Nurture his weakness. Be his strength. And he'll worship you. Stop running to and from men and decide what you want for your fucking self.
Boiled down, both pieces of advice comes down to choice. She needs to know what she wants and how to get it, if she can get it. But she must make a choice to get the things she wants in the first place. A choice requires conviction. It requires thought. It requires action. If Akemi can make choices with these in mind, her understanding of being a woman will finally come full circle. With the truths and wisdoms bestowed by Seki and Madame Kaji, Akemi embraced it and got to work. During her stay in the palace, Akemi made the choice of eating the tough-to-swallow foods. She made the choice of firing her handmaidens and replaced them with Madame Kaji and her band of whores. She made a bold choice of slapping her husband when she thought he was insulting her. She made the choice of fully accepting the prince as her husband. All these choices being made would have served her well, gaining her favor, power, and control amongst the pack of wolves surrounding her. But as stated before, life has its own plans. It does what it wants, even if it means to burn everything to the ground. This fire presented an opportunity for Akemi. She could leave with Taigen and live in a secluded farm. What she wanted all this time is right there for her to take. The ball is in her court. Despite her previous wishes of being with Taigen and not being a pawn for anyone, she decided to stay in the city. For her conviction was simple. She wanted to be great. And the only way Akemi would find this greatness is by staying with the royal family to rebuild and reestablish their dynasty. A process Akemi was more than ready to meet head on. Now, she was well versed in the art of the woman. Admittedly, any gender can master this skill of deception in order to thrive. The art of being a woman realistically can be given other names as well. But credit must be given where credit is due. Women had to live by this way or face death. Perhaps the woman did not invent the art of thriving in hostile environments, but they sure as hell perfected it. Not everyone can be a princess like Akemi. Some live in more unfortunate situations than others. But despite our different circumstances, we all have a choice. We are all capable to be masters of our own destinies if only we get up and act on our choices. We might never see an end to our goals, but in chasing our goals, we will find ourselves in better positions than when we first started. So then, what will you do?